Hey guys, my name's Coach Anthony Ivany. And this is the double tight, double wing. I appreciate Coach Bandstra having us down talking about dinosaur football. It's something near and dear to my heart. We're all spread guys now, but deep down, the double tight, double wing, or as we say on the internet, the DTDW, somewhere deep and close to my heart. So a little background about me. I'm a New Yorker. I'm a lawyer, but most importantly, I'm a high school football coach. This is going to be my 12th season coaching. A little background about me. I'm here in Staten Island, New York, in New York City. Started out at my alma mater, St. Joseph by the Sea. I coached quarterback skills. I was the JV OC. I'll introduce my former head coach that both coached me in high school and gave me my start in coaching. But that was my first year. I was a double tight, double wing guy as a player in my first year as a coach. And then he retired, and in came a college OC, this guy named Coach Mike Carone. He's up in Buffalo now. Great guy. He showed me the whole spread world, RPO world. He let me coach the JV as the OC. And, that really, those first 6 years of my career, that really helped me develop as a coach. Because as a young coach, I got my play calling chops in early. Saw what worked, saw what doesn't, saw that Madden doesn't translate to real life all the time. Well, some of the times. In my spare time when I'm not working or coaching high school, currently an assistant head coach and OC down at our youth league. Again, this is New York City football. It's a lot different than other places in the country. I love it, but it's a lot different. We don't have middle school football. We don't align based on population. It's really just kind of fringe, classifications based on where we think we're at. And we don't have teaching positions. So, a lot of times, I flash around that I'm an attorney, but to be honest, in New York City, except for the head coach who may work in the building, not all the time, but usually the head coach is a teacher and everybody else is an alumni, a dad, a cop, a firefighter, a construction worker, an accountant, an attorney, a small business owner. We got a bunch of guys from different backgrounds that just love the game and give back to it. Very few teaching positions linked to coaching here. And currently I'm at Moore Catholic High School, the arch rival of my alma mater. We had a really good run these past 5 years. We made a bunch of championship appearance, put about a dozen kids D1, had a good time. Recently, our head coach left, Nick G, to another school. I wasn't sure. I was getting really comfy. This spring I was coaching youth ball. I really liked only, coaching a few days a week, as like a soft retirement. I was like, oh, this is great, less of a commitment. And then the new head coach brought me in and he said, Coach, I'd really like you to be my assistant OC. We're working things out right now. I'm glad to be back. But yeah, man, still rocking in New York City. And now for probably one of the craziest pictures of my coaching career. This was championship week. I believe this was 2022. There's me in my suit coming straight from a court conference and running my favorite, the scout offense with a bunch of our guys getting ready for the championship. And yes, that we're not in the end zone. We have red turf. I believe we're one of 3 high schools in the country that enjoys red turf. But anyways, enough about me. I'm just going to get into some philosophy. And this is going to get a little Mike Leach-esque. I'm going to get a little out there, but it's all going to come back to the double tight, double wing. So if you don't get anything from this clinic, this is my main thing. If you follow me on Twitter or X now, this is my number one thing. You probably have too many plays in your playbook. I do, you do, we all do. And your number of plays you carry, this is my belief that I've grown over the last 12 seasons. Your number of plays and your execution, it's a zero-sum game. There's only so much you have time to practice for. Majority of us are probably two-way programs where, everybody has an offensive, defensive position, at least at the small school level. But there's just a zero-sum game. There's only so much you could really execute at a high level. And my philosophy, and I go crazy about this in coaches' meetings, to practice a play all week and not call it in the game, my opinion, is wasted practice time, whatever the play may be. If you don't call it in the game, it doesn't show up on film, you don't actually use it, my opinion, you might as well have just not been practicing for the 5-10 minutes you were running that play. And this applies to every offense, not just the double wing, the spread, wing tee, wishbone, flex bone. My opinion is the best teams I've coached, we just had a core group of plays and we executed. And this may sound familiar, but like in Remember the Titans, I run 6 plays, split veer, like Novocaine, just give it time. It always works. That was us, the double tight, double wing. I do firmly believe this applies to every offense. If you have that core group of plays that you're going to run better than your opponent knows how to put on their uniform, man, I think you're going to have a good year no matter what. All right. Now, remember the Titans, remember the Vikings. These are the guys that got me into football. Coach Clark, Coach Matos. They were my head coaches when I played and as I coached. Anyways, we were always outnumbered at St. Joe's. It was a co-ed private school. We had about 500 boys. Guys on our schedule had 2,000, 1,000. We were outnumbered by far. We had strict academic behavioral standards. Think Army, Navy, Air Force. I don't have this on here. At the time, we didn't have IEPs. We were very limited on who we could get into the building, who could afford the school, who could make the grades, who could keep their tie on tight and not get in trouble in the hallway and get thrown out. And we had 11 years in the double wing. We averaged 25 points a game, 1,000-yard rushes every season, 3,000 in 2013. Had some huge upset victories over the year. In a league we didn't belong in, and we made sure they knew we belonged. And how did we do it? The double tight, double wing. So for those that don't know, what is the double tight, double wing? I'm just going to show a quick clip. That's the double tight, double wing in a nutshell, man. We're going to turn the game into a fist fight in a phone booth. And this is us against Chaminade High School out in Long Island. They had to come to us that year. And, they had crazy talent on that team. They're a school of, I believe, double the triple R male population enrollment. And, this is how we'd move the ball. We'd put 11 in the box. We'd give our best athlete or 2 the ball about 20 times each a game. Our OC went to bed, knowing that our best player touched the ball with the best numbers in front of him. And, shout out to our OC, Coach Hench. He's a retired firefighter, volunteer, would be there all the time for us, man. He brought us the double tight, double wing. This gave us our identity. But this was us in a nutshell, man. We didn't care how big, strong, athletic, how many offers you had. It meant nothing to us. We were just going to run 24 power down your throat. And this right here, this is what every play would look like. At some point in the play, pass, run, whoever was getting the ball, it looked like this pile up. And then we did everything right. We crossed our T, dotted our I's. 2 yards became 4 yards, 4 yards became 8 yards. And by the fourth quarter, it looked like this. We would get a good push, and sometimes we'd be able to get our athlete the ball right down the middle. All right. Now for some philosophy. All right. This is going to be a Mike Leach impersonation, kind of a rant, but it's going to tie back, I promise. The power of contrarianism. And what I have here is, for those that don't know, that's Hoist Gracie in UFC 1. And during COVID, when there was no sports on, the UFC was the only real sport on for a while. I got back into it. I was always into it, the Chuck Liddell era, the Forrest Griffin era, the Ultimate Fighter reality series era in the 2000s, but I really did a deep dive because there was nothing else to watch, sports wise. And I really went back and watched like the classic fights and the modern, Fight Island fights. And this was UFC 1. And it was a guy named Hoist Gracie. And he weighed about $160. And he was going against guys twice his size, 250, juiced out. And for those that don't know, back in the day in UFC 1 in the 90s, there were no rules. There were no time limits. There was no rules. It was barely a sanctioned fight. And, they would just go until someone was knocked unconscious or gave up. And, how does a guy he was 6'1", 160, going against guys that were kickboxers, boxers. There was a sumo wrestler. There was guys of all different collegiate wrestlers, guys of all these talents and all these crazy backgrounds. And this 160-pound, 6'1" guy from Brazil, how did he do it? Well, he showed the world Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And I'm going to tie this back to dinosaur offenses in a second. But, it was a good saying I got from a youth football coach. If we did it like everyone else, we were going to lose. We're going to lose. Like And this is the type of offense for that type of team. You know, if you're going to come out in 2-by-2 spread and run the what I call generic spread football, 4 verts, inside zone RPO, bubble screens, you'd probably lose. You know, so you got to find that contrarian edge. You know, the way Hoist did it was, and the Brazilian jiu-jitsu guys did it. You know, their art of their whole martial art is about taking away the puncher's chance, taking away that kinetic energy. And again, going down the rabbit hole, this guy John Danaher, he breaks down jiu-jitsu in a nutshell to 4 steps. You take down the opponent, you pass their legs, you put them through a series of control positions, and then you go for the submission, the chokehold, or the joint lock. And what that would do is it allows an undersized, under-talented, unathletic person to defeat, you know, it allows David to defeat Goliath. And in reality, and the way John Danaher explained it is, it really eliminates that kinetic energy. You know, what is kinetic energy? It's your vertical jump. It's your punching power. It's your fast twitch muscle fibers. It's all that. If you're a team that's not going to be able to out-athlete people in today's spread world, you got to find the jiu-jitsu of football. And my opinion, and I think pretty much a lot of these offenses, whether it's flex bone, Army, Navy, Air Force, single wing, double wing, obviously close to my heart's the double wing, you know, wing T, it allows you to put all the 7-on-7s aside, all the athleticism aside, all the D1 offers, all that stuff aside. We're going to waste their practice time. All those 7-on-7s they did all summer, and you'll see more clips of it. You can tell me where it mattered when you have to stop 24 power, where you have to take on a kick out block, where you got 3 pullers coming through the hole looking for your linebacker. You know, we're going to waste their practice time. I talked a lot about wasting practice time. When you're contrarian, you force your opponent to learn your offense. And that's essentially what Hoist Gracie did. You know, now you watch UFC, modern UFC, everybody's a jiu-jitsu black belt. And it's not a waste, it's really an investment. Those guys, to be in the UFC now, you have to spend 10 years to get your jiu-jitsu black belt plus, you know, maybe sometimes longer to even compete, you know. So, yeah, the defense catches up with the offense. But, again, if you're going to be contrarian, you want that edge, you want to force them to defend you, you got to waste their practice time. You got to be different, all right? And the way we do it, again, this is 300. You know, this is a big, awesome scene. Everybody who's seen the movie knows it. I actually just spoke to my team recently about this scene. You know, when they have them backed up against the edge of that cliff, you know, and they're trying to get in with their spears, their swords, you know, conventional warfare. They said, wait a second, guys, just pick up our shield and let's just get 5 yards. And let's just get these guys off this cliff. And that's what we said. You know, a big philosophy, and a lot of guys talk about culture. Man, we had a great culture in double tight doubling. It was, let's turn the game into a board drill. Let's turn it into Oklahoma's. Let's just make the ball carrier is the least important guy. We're all going to get up on our shields, and we're going to get 5 yards for him. We're going to get 3.5 yards of carry for him. And that was our mentality. And I said before, I'm a New Yorker. This was a big motivational thing we'd always look at least once a year. This is the Bronx Tale. This is Sonny talking to Colodro in the bar scene where the bikers came in, and you know, a bunch of bikers came into his bar, and they beat up the bartender. They made a mess, and he asked them to leave. They didn't leave, so he locked the door and he said, "Now you just can't leave." And that's what he's doing. He just literally lock the gate and say, "Now they just can't leave. Now they got to go defend us." And we always said toughness is our X factor. No matter what, the real quote was, "The scoreboard's for mommy and daddy." You know, we're going to win the game 14-0. We're happy. We're going to win the game 2-0. We're happy. We want to be the toughest team on that field that day. And that was our X factor. That was our culture. And honestly, the double tight, double wing was the core factor of it. So again, philosophy, and this is probably my last philosophy side. I'm sorry if I'm ranting too long for you, but it is what it is. My opinion, find your identity play. What are you willing to bet your coaching job on? At the end of the day, listen, good, bad, and different. You got to run something. What are you willing to bet your job on? Air raid guys, it's teaching your O-line a vertical set and teaching your quarterback to throw and teaching guys how to catch and, get all your triangle concepts and all your cool passing plays. That's what you're willing to bet your job on. Spread guys, it's, the RPO game. If they're too high, we're going to RPO them to death. If they're one high, we're going to run our man beaters. That's the spread world. I could go down the list all day. Run and shoot guys, it's our secret pass protection we're not allowed to talk about. And, our choice option routes and getting the QB on the move. But in the double tight, double wing, and you talk to O-line coaches across the country, a a lot of gap scheme guys, they believe they can walk into any high school and teach down blocks, double teams, and pulling. And, you know, in my opinion, and going further down this rabbit hole, what can you teach your 80%? Because to be honest, my opinion, been doing this a while, your top 20% athletes, really your top 5 guys, you know, your running back, your star receiver, your quarterback, they're going to be good in any system. You run the spread, you know, you're going to have a good slot receiver, get them against linebackers, get them in open space, you know. But guess what? If you're a triple option guy, that's your wing back. That's your pitch man. You're a wing T guy, you know, that's your buck sweep guy. You're in the double tight double wing, that's your wings, you know. If you're a single wing guy, that's your quarterback who's just going to direct snap at every play. Your top guy is going to be good in any offense for the most part. Quarterbacking, different story. I could talk for hours on that. But for the most part, your top skill guys, they're going to be fine in every offense. But what can you teach your messy middle, your middle class of football players, the other 80%? You know, with the 80-20 rule, obviously the 20% is going to get 80% of your outcome. What about your other 80% that you need to get up to snuff to beat the better teams in your league, to beat the teams equal to you? What could you teach them? For the double tight double wing, it's just down blocks and pulls. All right. And finally, what can you fix? Because things are going to go wrong. You got to have an answer for when things go wrong. And the double wing was simple. We got 11 in the box. We'll just down everything and figure it out later. And we won a lot of games doing that. But at the end of the day, you got to just commit to it and protect it with counter punches. So you probably, if you're like me, if I was watching this, I'd say, all right, coach, just give me those 6 plays you're talking about. So let me run through them. The 6 plays of the double tight double wing. 24 power, 45 power be flipped. It's power to the wing back. We had a variation. We can give it to the quarterback. Eventually we evolved to the shotgun double wing. We played some modern stuff with some keepers and stuff. Bottom line is power. This is superpower, as some people on the internet call it. What is it? Our tight end, tackle, guard, center on the play side, they're just down and doubling. And we had a million calls for all the fronts, even, odd, bear, 7-1 diamond, goal line, guy in every gap, blitzer, psycho front. We'd figure it out, but that was the majority of our time. We were just going to learn how to down and double team everything and wash it out, wash everything down. Our backside guard, backside tackle, they were wrapping, they were pulling for the hole, and we were just playing bowling on bowling pins. They were just there to open up the hole. You know, whatever was there, they'd pick up, preferably the linebacker, but any leakage they'd get, and we just get a nice wedge feeling going in the gap. Backside tight ends, a little controversial. We would have them cut. We'd call it a crab block. You'd crab out whatever was in the C gap. You could have them hinge, whatever your philosophy is there. We'd change it up week to week, what we saw. But he would just cover those pullers as the center would. And we had the option to hold the puller in if we felt the center couldn't get to the backside 3-tech. If we felt the blitzer, we had all those counter punches ready, all those fixes ready. Wing back would change week to week, but we could have him, chip up to backer 1 week. We could have him, depending we could have him arc out. And that was that. Fullback, and this is the fun part. As the old school coach said, we always had a fire hydrant at fullback. Guy about 5'5", really good wrestler, really good lifter guy. And we'd have him run through all these superstar D1 DNs in the C gap. And there was no such thing as spilling. Spilling wasn't in our language. He'd have his J path and he'd kick which shows. Usually it'd be a 5-tech, whatever show in the C gap. And he'd be on a collision course. We'd be asking him to get into about 30 car crashes a game and just kick out. All right. Now the quarterback. And again, like I said before, if we played football like everybody else, we'd lose. Quarterback was a blocker in this offense. He was a linebacker, a safety, another fullback type body. And he could throw. Hopefully he could throw a little bit. We had answers if he couldn't. But his job was to turn, pitch the ball to the wing back, turn around, and fire out into the hole and be our third puller. All right. Quarterback was our third puller. That was our X factor. And then finally, as I said, the ball carrier is the least important. That's our athlete. That's our wing back. He'd come in motion, catch the pitch from the quarterback. We'd tell him to aim for that A-gap and veer out. Some of the really good guys could cut it back. Some of the really good guys could find their way to get lost in the hole and burst out. But yeah, man, that's 24 power. That was our baby. We'd install that day one, and we'd have what's called power hour at some point. We'd run 24 power for an hour. So just run it every play, and 45 the other way. And we just get good at what we do. All right. Now, you eat your peanut butter to your jelly. We had counter. Again, Defenses see the motion. They'd overact to the motion. We needed a big play. We would have counter back to the place, who would have been the play side wing, and get everybody shifting the wrong way. But the beauty of this offense is your tight end, your tackle, your guard, your center, we're just double down, gap down backer, as Coach has on his podcast. Everybody's responsible for their their backside gap, and we'd figure it out with all our line calls. The only thing that would change now, backside guard is pulling and trapping. He's trapping the first color shown. He's replacing where the fullback would be. Backside tackle would wrap for the first bad color. Backside tight end would crab out that C gap. All right? The backfield. Play side wing with motion, fake 24 power the other way, fake like you got the pitch. Fullback, you come out like he's taking his J path, cut it back. He'd be our second puller through the hole. All right? Quarterback would reverse out like he's running 24 power or sweep, do a whole 360, hand it back to the wing. Wing, you would take a step, come back, and follow the pullers to freedom. And, it's funny, you watch Sean McVay, you watch Mike McDaniels, Miami, you watch all these, innovative NFL coaches running this stuff now. All us double wing guys laughed on Twitter. On X, we were just like, we were running that since the 90s, So that's counter. Now sweep. And it's very crudely drawn up because it would change week to week based on our crazy, because we'd see everything on defense. But it's just pin and pull football, student body right. We felt they were squeezing the kick out. We felt they were blitzing us. We felt we wanted to get our guy on the edge to hope for a good hitter. We'd run sweep. And it was just pin and pull rules up front. We change it based on what we saw. We could reach inside. We could just down and pull. If our center was a dude, we'd hope he'd be able to handle the nose. And again, just pin and pull football. Wing would kick out. It was try to scoop and reach. Quarterback would pitch, get on the edge. Fullback would get on the edge. And most importantly, the wingback would get on the edge, and we just cram everybody inside. Now we're going to sweep outside. And that was our core three. And now some tertiary plays. The trap. Varsity level, we'd run trap to the fullback. This was really a gift. This was really just to get the defense off balance. They're so used to that flow of the double wing, the flow of that motion, the flow of power, the flow of sweep. We're now trapped. We would just cut them in half and hit a quick hitter in the A gap. This is more or less a gift for the fullback. Obviously, if we caught the defensive tackle coming up field, it was money. At the low levels, we'd run wedge. I've talked to a bunch of double wing guys. A lot of guys are big believers in wedge. Wedge could replace this play, but yeah, we had trap. We're a big trap team, but wedge is good here too. And this would be for your fullback, or we could run a quick hitting wedge to the quarterback on QB sneak with no motion. But that's our fourth run. And now for the passes. We'd have power pass. Not really much to speak about here. This is Spider 2 wide banana for all you John Gruden fans. Let's just fake power, get the quarterback off the center line. And let's look to get a flood pass into the flat, and hopefully the wing on the corner route. But that's power pass in a nutshell. We would play around with pulling guys, to get the linebackers off balance. But we'd have power pass off of power, and we'd have bootleg off of sweep. And again, we'd pull some guards, pin and pull rules. It'd be a pass set thing. And the whole idea was, if we caught them cheating, we caught them over rotating, we wanted to just get a big play, we'd run bootleg the other way, just like you see in the NFL. All right? And how does it play out? So the typical double wing game. Again, in the locker room, all camp, guys, we just need 3.5 yards of carry. Because that means we don't need to go for it on fourth down. 3.5 yards, 3.5 yards. 3.5 yards to first down. And we're going to do that every single play until they stop us. And we're going to run out the clock. And we're going to take the ball, keep the ball out of their hands. And the way it would play out is, if we're having a good game, power, we'd probably, if we could, we'd run it 20 times a game. And we'd keep our, keep our offense on schedule, see how good we can run power. Counter, we'd have it about 2 to 4 times a game in our back pocket. We get stopped. We need to get a big play. We feel that they're over rotating. We get that counter in about 2 to 4 times a game. And then sweep, again, we'd run it just like power, game plan dependent, but, we'd get our guy on the edge about 8 to 10 times a game minimum, sometimes more, sometimes less. Sometimes we get the QB out there. It was just all a matter of what we saw the defense doing. We felt them closing in. we'd sweep them to the outside. We felt them over pursuing, we'd hit counter. All right, trap or wedge, gift play, get the fullback up the middle, get him a carry, keep him happy. Power pass and bootleg. These were game situation dependent. Back when I was a player in my junior year, we went on a 4-game win streak, did not throw the ball once. And it's what we did. You know, the opponents didn't like it. The fans in the stands were complaining. Oh, well, we won. Haha. We ran out the clock. We scored a bunch of points. We went home happy. You know, we ran again, what's our identity? 24, 45 power. Ran it 20 times a game, ran some counter, ran some sweep, ran some trap. All right, go home, load up the bus. We win, you lose. And that's how we played, man. We weren't afraid to not throw the ball. So you're probably saying, nice drawings, coach. This is all nice in theory. You got any film? Of course I do. Power. And I'll break this down as we go. I'll show it once live, right? That's power in a nutshell. That's what happens, that cutback I was talking about before. Second level cutback. So I'm going to go play by play here. Again, we motion. As you can see, we got that flow. Front side of the line, we're going to down block. You're going to see bodies on the floor. This team liked to dive on us. We'd bury the diver, try to flip them, call it the flip drill, try to flip them over and up and out of the hole. All right. Fullback's right there. He's kicking out. I believe we kicked out the 5 tech here. We got 2 polar. We got the quarterback, the guard, and the tackle leading through the hole. And the running back following through. Right there, we cleared the front line. You know, and I got this from Alex Gibbs. Nowadays, I'm a wide zone guy. Over the years, I became a zone blocking guy. But, you know, he more or less said, guys, running backs, I can only guarantee you the first 2 yards. It's up for you to get the rest. Here, I think we did a good job of that. By just clearing the first level. Now it's a game of athleticism. The little bit of athleticism we got, can we get that 3.5 yards of carry? And I think he did. You know, he made that second level cut. You know, we made 2 guys miss. It was a good run there, but that's power in a nutshell to perfection. Again, I'll show it again. Again, all we wanted every play, we wanted this. Again, they wound up on the floor because they were diving. Here's all our down blocks. Here's our kickouts. In this case, the puller is also kicked out, and we just got a clean green grass here to go. That's power in a nutshell. And we wanted to do that better than anybody could do anything. All right, sweep. All right, that is against Curtis High School, multi-public school champ, Staten Island. I believe one of these guys made it to the NFL that year. Eventually made it to the NFL from that class. But this was a preseason scrimmage. A little joke we had. All our public school friends, their head coaches loved us because, you know, this was in the 2010s. This was that spread craze. And, you know, we were a good test for them to see how good they could stop the run to, you know, play against our offense. And this is a goal line situation. We're going to run quarterback sweep here. Sweep was money on the goal line because, again, everybody's watching QB sneak, power. Everybody's crowded into the box. And we just get student body right. And, again, pin and pull rules. We wash everything down, play side, and get as many guys on the edge as we can. And we just turn it into an Oklahoma drill, just on the outside. So I'll pause again here. Again, wash down what we can, kick out what we can. Let's get our quarterback, our guard, our tackle, and everybody out, and the fullback on the edge. We have 4 lead blockers on the edge. Let's see how good your contain is when we're all trying to blow you up. And that's sweep in a nutshell. Doesn't have to be pretty. It's great. Again, this is a dirty yards offense. We're just trying to get dirty yards, 3.5 yards of carry. We're allowed to make it ugly. We're fine with it. That's the world we want to live in. Counter, motion. We're going to get all the kick, same fundamentals here. Double down on what we see. Kick out by the guard. Fullback wrapping, tackle wrapping. Let's party in the end zone. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 human beings with their eyes to the wrong side of the play. We got we're doubling and downing. This guy's about to get kicked out. This is the this is the tight end ripping up to backer. And here comes our wing back. Gone. This is against Fordham Prep, big school up in the Bronx. We're playing at Fordham University with the college hashes. good, fun place to play on a college field. Again, this film is so old, I had to screen record some of it. But again, fundamentals here. Got 8 human beings looking the wrong way. I don't know why they were playing 2 high safeties on us. Maybe it was 4th down. I don't know. But again, here's the hole, a little bit wider, just how it would work. We'd get everybody looking the wrong way. Counter right back door. Touchdown. All right, moving on. Power pass. We did throw the ball when it was our time. All right. This is against a really good team. I believe this was the playoff game. Again, Sparta 2 wide, banana in a nutshell. Tight end's going to rip up here. I'm going to try to get the wing on the out cut. Excuse me, the corner here. Went with like a fork concept here, a post in a corner. Got the fullback leaking out to the flat. And lay it up there to nobody. Again, see how good all your 7-on-7s are doing when we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 athletes beat off the ball off the bat, because that's true play action. See how good they are when, your safety's one-on-one with our guy. And that's how you make something happen on power pass. Again, we'd hold that in our back pocket for when we needed it. All right, now for the trap. So here we come with trap. Again, changing up the tempo. Kind of like boxing. You throw the double jab because they're not ready for it. We're going to change up the tempo here. Again, everybody's used to the flow of the double wing. Power's hitting here. Sweep's hitting here. All the flow's going this way. Now we got a quick hitter up the middle. I'm going to knife that defense when they least expect it. I believe that might have been and that was 4th down. And I believe we get it. Get that fullback right up the middle. Because what were they screaming? Watch sweep, watch power. Change the tempo on the run. Very underrated thing. You really don't see it too much in the spread anymore, this style of run from the under center. And again, we'll talk about under-talented, and we had talent at this point, but when the fullback's getting a dive, you really only got to block them for like half a second. You really just got to get in their way, and we would blow people up with that. And finally, we have the boot. Like you see at the NFL level, off the wide zone. This is against Stepanak, really good team. This was the playoff game. Again, we showed them all day. We showed them the sweep power all day. And if you look, I think they only had 1 or 2 guys their hands in there. They went psycho front on us. And we just said, let's just down block everything that shows and figure it out later. But here we went sprint pass. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, this guy figured it out. Now I'll cut it down to like 8 guys. Again, looking the wrong way. This is true play actions, true misdirection. Something lost in the modern game. And we got our basic Spider 2 wide, banana, flood, whatever you want to call it. Look, hit the wing coming across for a touchdown. And that's the traditional double tight, double wing in a nutshell. And guess what? Like I said before, your top 20 guys going to be good. This is a D1 running back we had back then. His name was Lyle McCombs. He went to UConn. Really great athlete, really great guy. And this is what it looks like when you add D1 speed to this offense. And he got recruited just fine. Again, this is a few years ago, but this is quite a while ago. But again, same idea. Your D1 guy is still a D1 guy. We're just lining him up different. That's the magic of the double tight, double wing traditionally. Now, well, coach, I don't know if I want to commit to that. I want to have wide receivers in my offense. We did not, by the way, back in the day. We didn't believe in it. We thought it was going to react. The coaches used to tell us we think it would get in our way of practicing what we do. Eventually, we got them in the offense later on, but that's another story. Modernizing it to get it to fit your innovative spread offense. Because nowadays, like I said, I'm a spread guy now. Wide zone, run and shoot, RPOs, all the fun stuff. But again, coaches' meetings, when we're allowed to have input, I always say, hey, man, we have a formation in our offense that allows us to just turn this into a board drill. And to modernize it, we'd run it from gun. We'd live as a package for the stuff we already have. Again, like I said, have your core identity. You're a zone guy. You still run the double wing just with zone. Just run it from gun. And what I think is the untapped potential that nobody's gotten to yet, or at least to an extent. I keep talking about it before, is the Sean McVay wrinkles. So he runs it at the NFL level. They run snug all the time with motion. They run that same idea, taking some of his like Yankee concepts and double posts and deep crossers or, screens off of it. I think there's a lot of untapped potential to have like a real pro style passing game out of this stuff. And Coach Caducci down in Texas, he's a wide zone guy. He more or less made a living off that just with the wide zone. But most importantly, what I've learned is you got to sell this offense. You have to sell this to your players. You got to get them excited. When they hear whatever you're going to call the package, jumbo, shield, whatever cool name you're going to come up with it. I've heard someone call it pork chop. They got to get excited. Like, man, I can't wait to run this double tight offense and just turn this into a board drill and just get the 5 yards and just get the 3.5 yards of carry, get that 30 yards. You got to get them excited about this, especially in the modern day where everybody wants to be 7-on-7 spread. If you're going to add this to as a package, you got to get them excited. So how did we do it over the years? This is in 2019. This was back at St. Joe's. We made a run at the 2019 championship. We called it Thunder. And we brought back the double wing. It's called Thunder. We put double tight ends, and we changed up. We were studying the Notre Dame box that offseason. We said, what if we put 2 fullbacks and make that our third puller? So this is how we would do it. And we were a gap scheme team. We were duo, tackle trap, power. So we had this stuff already in the offense. We said, let's just get our 11 toughest dudes on the field. The offensive line was the offensive line, but we'd get some linebackers from defense, some real tough safety playing quarterback here. And we said, let's bring back 24 power in our own way. And this is our Thunder package. So what's going to happen here? Again, double down at the point of attack, back gap down backer, whatever you want to call it. Backside guard and tackle, we'd pull in this. Backside tight end, cut off. Fullback kick. This fullback would wrap. And either the quarterback would take it or we'd fake it. We'd get a guy into the 4 hole here in the B gap. And here we go. Again, not as crazy as back in the day, but still, we got our down blocks. We got our kick out. We got 3 pullers to the hole. Let's get our guy in the end zone. So that was our Thunder package. That was back at C. And then, a few years later, when I'm coaching at Moore, we said, all right, let's go 32. Let's run inside zone. Because, again, we were an inside zone team that year. Let's just run inside zone down at these guys. Again, nothing changed for the guys up front. We're just aligning in gun, 2 wings. Again, our 11 toughest dudes. This is our dude middle linebacker. And let's just turn this to a board drill. And that's what we did. And it's hard to see that was a touchdown. That's the end zone. They didn't color their end zone there. That was the old Hofstra field out in Long Island. All right. And moving on again. Run what you run. You're a wide zone guy, run wide zone out of this. Inside zone, duo guy, run duo out of this. All right. Here we go again. Same idea. They cut us, so we, logged them down. And there you go, man. Doesn't have to be complicated, fellas. You only need a few yards. Get your 11 baddest dudes on the field and get the yards you need. Now, the beauty of being in the spread, and this was a thing, now we got a spread quarterback in the system, and he's used to throwing, and he has a good arm. And, we could just run run what we run. Smash is a play we had. We'd run it out of 32. And get our guy the ball. Not too complicated. It's not rocket science. All right. Anyways, guys, I appreciate Coach Bandstra having me down. Always down to share, always down to talk ball at any time of day. Hit me up. That's my X/Twitter handle, Coach Ivany. You ever need anything, if you really want to get in touch with me, there's my Gmail. Again, none of this was legal advice. I appreciate Coach Bandstra having me on. Always down to talk double tight, double wing, or any offense. Appreciate you having me on, and enjoy watching the other clinics from the other great coaches. See you next time.